Right, we'll just start with a fitness squad. How is everyone? How's Hatate?
Yeah, he's good. He's trained all week and he's fine. He's available. As I said last week, he did a bit of work, but we just felt with the game being on the artificial wasn't wise to bring him back. So he's good and available. And everyone else from last week is also all clear.
You made a great start to the season so far, up against Hearts this weekend. Obviously finished third last season. Would you say it's the toughest test you've had so far?
They're all tough tests. Aberdeen, the first one was tough, away to Ross County, and Kilmarnock last week had its challenges. Every game is, it's got its own obstacles for us to overcome. Yeah, like I said, we've had a solid start to the season. Our performances are slowly improving. As I said, this is a period where we don't have a lot of games, but are able to train a bit more than we usually do. So we're putting a lot of work into the guys during the week, and I think that's helping our performances improve.
What do you make of Hearts, Ange in Europe, obviously coming back from Switzerland?
Yeah, I think you can see they've strengthened from last year. Just squad-wise, they look a lot stronger. I think you look at their side last year, and they had a fantastic year, but kind of relied on a core group of players. I think obviously with European football this year, they've had to expand their squad, and you even saw last night. I think they got an injury early, but had the players to replace them. So I think with Europe, it's always. I've always seen it as a positive experience for the players who participate in it, and I think they would have got. They're still in the tie, so they would have got some belief out of last night, and give us a tough test on the weekend.
Mentioning strengthening squads, Celtic linked with Haksabanovic this week about a apparent move for the winger. What can you tell us about that player and if he's moving to Parkhead?
I think we've been linked with a player every time I've done one of these. When and if we announce it, we'll announce it. But as I said all along, we're agile. We're looking for the right person to bring in. If that right person's available and we can do a deal, we'll do a deal. But nothing's really changed on that front.
Is the winger / attacker, sort of the priority at the moment, or is that just a case of?
Again, I've been pretty consistent. Just check my press conferences. I've said, if we can get a player who can play in a variety of positions, it's just got to be the ideal player. Our recruiting this year has been around making our squad stronger and more robust compared to sort of last year. And if you look at the players we've brought in, that's what they've added to our squad. And again, so it's not a specific area as such in terms of position. It's more. If we can find a player or a couple of players who can play more than one position, I think it'll help us.
And Hearts have obviously signed another Australian player in the summer. They got three in now, I think, and there's quite a few teams in the league have gone to Australia or signed Australian players. What have you made of the kind of influx of Australian players? Is it quite exciting for folk back home as well to watch this league now as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great for Australian football. This league, is a good league for I think Australian players. It gives them a real sort of stepping stone into Europe, and it's a tough league. It's a competitive league, and I think particularly say with Hearts, I think Cammy Devlin coming in last year and doing really well probably encouraged them to look there again. There's good value there, and certainly with Nathaniel and Kai Rolls, who I've known for quite a while, good players, good characters. And it's good to see other Australians in the league now. I think they can add something to this league, but also they'll get challenged themselves to perform because, as I said, it's a pretty competitive league.
Was that always the case in Australia? Was the Scottish League viewed as a good place to maybe a platform for a lot of players to come and play here?
Yeah, I mean, there's always been a strong Australian influence here, not just as a platform, but to come here and make an impact. We had our own sort of, with obviously Tommy being here, and Big Dukes has been through here. Jackson Irvine came through here. And even at other sort of clubs, Ryan McGowan is now back. There's always been a strong Australian influence. I think, like I said, there's some parallels there with Australian leagues. And I think the one thing about Australian footballers, Australian sportsmen in general, they're they're really strong characters in the sporting sense, and with the league being so competitive here, I think it'd be a good fit.
Ange, can I just ask you about Alex Bernabe? Obviously, reports this week about him being in trouble with the police. What is the latest, or what can you say about that?
Yeah, there was an incident early in the week, and now it's processes that are taking place, both externally and internally. And when they come to a conclusion, we'll take the appropriate measures.
Will he be in the squad for Sunday?
Yeah, he's training and he's available.
And where are the club with the players that might be going out the door before the window closes, like Mikey Johnson and Albion Ayeti?
Yeah, again, without talking about specific players, because ultimately they're all sort of, individual cases. It's about trying to find opportunities for these guys to play if they're not going to get opportunities here. And, with some of it, it's got to be driven by themselves as well. If they want to find somewhere to get more opportunities, we'll certainly help in that regard. So just, there's still 10 days or so open in the transfer window, and particularly say around Mikey, I'm really keen to get some game time. I still think Mikey's an outstanding talent. He's just hasn't been able to get a good run of games, and I think a different environment for him where he can start realising the potential we all know he has. But he's training well. They're all training. Everyone's part of the training group, and like I said, if opportunities arise over the next 10 days for players, we'll definitely look at it.
And as far as the Champions League draw that's coming up next week, spoke to Callum McGregor earlier in the week, and he had mentioned that Real Madrid was a name that he would like to see come out the hat. Do you have any ideas of any big name clubs that you would like to see at Celtic Park?
I think, irrespective, we'll see some big name clubs at Celtic Park. So no, I'll defer to the skipper on that one if that's what he wants. I'm usually pretty good at draws. I'll usually get the most difficult one available. So that certainly fits that criteria.
Ange, how you doing? Joe McKenna from the Homeboys podcast.
Good joke.
Harry Kewell did a short but interesting interview with Fox Sports in the last week, and he backed up a statement you made last season when you spoke about learning and growing from the backroom staff around you. You're never standing still in your own thoughts of the game, essentially. Do you feel you've benefited as a coach and manager yourself, being with the current coaching team around you, including Harry? Yeah,
I think I think it's the reason why it's pretty well chronicled that I kind of don't take a crew of people around with me, because I think every environment I've been in, I've worked with different people and new people, and I think you always learn. Just people having different sort of personalities and characters, different upbringings, different knowledge around the game. For me, whilst I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm always looking for areas where I can expose myself, like I said, to different kind of scenarios and different people, so that I can continue my growth both as a manager and as a person, and I think that's the way you do it. So, here, as I said, when I came in, I kind of inherited most of the football staff, coaches and other staff, and it's been great working with them, and I enjoyed working with them, and like I said, it keeps me on my toes, because if I sort of had a group of people who went around me as a coaching group, I wouldn't have to convince them about what we're going to do, whereas when I come in here, I had to sort of, not just the players but also the staff, get them to believe in sort of the football team I want us to be and the football I want to play. And I enjoy that challenge of getting people to believe in sort of the direction we're going to head.
And you spoke about growth there. One player in particular I kind of want to make mention of, we're all a big fan of, is Greg Taylor. I've been a huge fan of Greg's for years now, because I think the main contributing factor recently to some of our successes has been Greg's tenaciousness. The fact that he just doesn't give up, and he'll reset himself really quickly in a game. And I think he's always had that, right? And he came in for criticism in the past. Do you think now that he's unlocked something, or is he just now in an environment and in a situation whereby his talents and his abilities are really thriving?
Look, I think it's probably a combination of all those things. I think for every footballer, their football journey is not is never sort of linear, in that it just starts at a low base and finishes at a high base. You've got your ups and downs, and sometimes you learn a lot from times where you have to struggle. And as you said, if you don't have resilience and tenacity, because at some point in your career, you'll get tested. For a lot of players, it happens a lot of times in their careers. It's your ability to overcome that allows you then, to take your football career on the upward trajectory. All of us, all players want to take it. So, but, I think too often, players just think it's, as I said, it's just a smooth sort of ascent, and it never is. You've got to go through your ups and downs. You've got to show resilience. You've got to convince people. You've got to prove yourself all the time. That never changes. And, with Greg, I mean, look, my experience with Greg has only been over the last sort of 12 months, and from the moment I arrived, he's probably he's one of the few that kind of have stayed on, and from the start he was an eager learner, he was a hard worker at training, and to me they're the main sort of characteristics I look at for players. I think sometimes there's a misconception about sort of the kind of players that people think fit into my system. I think there are very few players that wouldn't fit into the kind of football that I want to play, because there isn't a footballer, I don't think, on the planet doesn't want to play, have the ball and be dominant and all those kind of things. But apart from their skill set, the key criteria are that they're coachable and that they, which is part of their learning capacity, and that they're resilient, because it's a tougher road to take. And Greg's got those, but the challenge for him now is to keep improving, to keep getting better, to keep, he's still a young man, and, there's still areas of his game he'll want to improve, and I know he can. And my role and the club's role is to make sure the environment keeps pushing all our players to be the best they can be.
Hi, Ange. What sort of game are you expecting on Sunday? I think it's fair to say Hearts have more attacking options or a more attacking team. Do you expect them to come and have a go?
Oh, look, I think irrespective of what we expect from the opposition, it's up to us to impose our game on it. I mean, every game is a bit of an arm wrestle where, both teams, whatever their approach may be, will try and impose themselves. Our job is to make sure that, we try and dominate the game in the areas we like to dominate, play the game in the areas we like to play. And if that happens, irrespective of, how the opposition sets up, then, we can force their hand to make changes. But as you said, they've got some, obviously they've brought in Shanklin this year, and he's already scoring goals. Barry Mackay, Liam Boyce, they've got some good attacking options. They brought Andrew Forrest in. So, they're a threat up front. I thought they were a threat up front last year too, actually. I thought they were, and I think that's why they finished where they did. It wasn't a game style built around just defending. So they had threats up front last year as well. So, they got threats, but again, it's up to us to make sure that, like I said, we dictate how the game's played, and for that to happen, we've got to make sure we start with the right intent and intensity, particularly at home, that makes us hard to stop.
I think most people are expecting a two-horse race, and I guess Sunday would be a big indicator. But can Hearts challenge this season?
I don't really put a lot of thought into what other clubs' ambitions are, to be honest. All we've got to do is make sure that when we play against every opposition, like I said, we're the best we can be, and then we kind of look after our own ambitions. I think, from our perspective, it's really important that, and I think we've shown that over the last sort of year and a bit, that every opponent we treat the same way, with the same respect, irrespective of their own ambitions as clubs, whether they're up the top or down the bottom of the ladder. We know that, every game's got its challenges, and for us, what's more important is our own ambitions rather than other clubs.
Hi, Ange, how you doing?
Good, mate.
We had 5 different scorers last weekend. How important is the competition for places that we have this season in driving up the levels in training every day, and can you see that impact on a daily basis?
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of the 5 different scorers, I think, we've tried to be that way from the start. Our wingers got a lot of goals last year, our midfielders got a lot of goals last year. So from our perspective, and obviously our 2 strikers last year, ended up with double-digit goals. So I think we've always been that kind of team. I think this year probably, obviously our centre-backs have scored early, but, even last year Cameron got, I think, 4 goals last year. So we've always been a team that wants to have multiple threats, and I don't think it's necessarily the competition for places that's driving that. It's just the way we play our football, and it's inevitable that teams will try and stop us one way or another, and if we can have more than one way of breaking through teams, then that makes us harder to stop. So, I think what the competition for places, or what I probably refer to more as having a stronger squad, is that our training levels are really, really good, because it's not just 11 players who are the focus of training. It's 24, 25 players who every day bring a really high level, which means that you're forced to, whether you started the game or not, you're forced to really train at your best, which I think in turn prepares whoever starts on the weekend or whoever's part of the squad to be at their best for game day.
Yeah, one of the most impressive aspects of last season was the mental strength and resilience that the team showed, particularly in big moments. But how do you prepare the team mentally for the step up of the Champions League?
Again, you've just got to approach it the same way as the difficulties, whatever the challenges may be. The answers lie within ourselves and within our football. That's how we've got to where we are at the moment. So there's no point trying to look for a sort of magic bullet just because the challenge is different, or more daunting in terms of the opposition you're facing. You've just got to deal with it the same way. Every challenge, what you look for is, okay, how can we overcome it? And I keep telling the guys that the answers lie within us and within our football, not from something different or something new or something special. I think you've seen that whenever we've kind of needed something, we haven't gone away from who we are as a football team, or who we are as who the boys are as players, in finding a solution to it, and that'll be the case in Champions League and in whatever other challenges we have domestically this year.